Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to another episode of Sisters Hour. We're currently doing a series and it's called Careers Under the Spotlight. This series is focused on really showing showing the stories and the experiences of women who work in media. This is the second episode where we will be joined with Nur Hannah Wan, a documentary filmmaker. The first episode last week was hosted by Sister Fatiha, and she had a guest who was a TV producer. So definitely do check out that episode and to learn more about the guest's experience working as a TV producer and her experiences working in Singapore. As you may know, Sisters Hour is part of the Suffa Foundation, and this is one of the many programs and services that we provide to the community. Please do check out our social media pages, our Facebook, our Instagram to find out more. And if you're interested and if you enjoy what we produce, please do consider donating to us. With me, I will introduce her shortly, is Nur Hannah Wan, and she is a documentary filmmaker. She's been abroad and she's so talented, actually, amazingly. She's also an artist, she's a photographer, she's a videographer, and this episode will be dedicated just to learning more about her and what kickstarted off a really wonderful and colorful career. As always, please do let us know where you're tuning in from, if you have any questions for her, and as well, please do a sound and picture check for us. Does everything look good? Does everything sound good? Please do let us know. Inshallah, I will be introducing you to Nur Hannah. Assalamu alaikum, Nur Hannah. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can. Salam, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm well. Welcome to Sisters Hour. So this entire series that we're doing is all about careers under the spotlight. We're introducing women who work in the media industry to talk about their field, really. And you are a documentary filmmaker. So just to kickstart the whole interview, please, do share with us how it all started. How did your career began? What did you study?
Yeah, so okay, I have to go back quite a long way. I actually started with art. I had always been like a fine artist. So that's always what I had known as a kid, was painting and drawing. And I think that's the path I thought that I would go down. So I ended up studying graphic design at university. That was 2010, I think I graduated. And then after that, I think like a lot of art students, you kind of are not really given the direction of where to go with art. In painting or designing, and kind of graduate kind of feeling like, what am I supposed to do with this now? So I think in that time that I was looking for work, I had always been writing. I'd always loved to write and read. I'd always been reading. So in that kind of gap where I was looking for work and applying for like internships, I would write. And then I think what happened was a friend of mine was doing her own kind of publication. Mm-hmm. So she asked me, like, do you want to volunteer to write for it? So I think I did a piece for her, and then kind of realized that it's something that I enjoy doing. I enjoy writing. I enjoy speaking to people and storytelling and stuff like that. So I started to, instead of applying for art internships, I started to apply for more kind of journalistic roles. So I was looking online for, like, what I could do. And then I think this BBC, it was like a scheme. It was like a community reporter scheme. So they advertised a kind of, I think it was a 6-month course to kind of get to know broadcast journalism. So I applied for that, and I remember kind of with no like formal background in writing or journalism or anything like that, but just the fact that I really wanted to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied for that, and I had about 3 rounds of interviews.
Wow.
3 rounds of interviews, yeah. The final stage of the interview was like, it was like a panel of 3 people, and they were like, asking me, why do you want to do this? So I went for the interview. I kind of bought like some props and like some articles I had written, and I remember being like so nervous for that interview because I had no idea that I wanted to go in this direction, but that is just purely that I enjoyed it. So I remember going for that interview and just like going through it purely of passion, like just purely like I really want to get this. I really want to like show them how much I want to do this course, kind of thing. So I think it was through that scheme, I ended up getting it. So it was about 6 months, and then we learned how to like the basics of broadcast in television. So there were 2 groups. There was like a radio group and then a television group. So we learned how to tell stories on camera. Yeah, how to tell stories on camera for TV. That was what kind of, I think doing that kind of showed me that storytelling, it gave me the tools to storytell with a camera. And it also told me that like, this is something that excites me. It's something that I want to pursue. So I think that kind of is where it kicked off, where I started to go in that direction. But I still paint, and I still occasionally do like portraits and artwork.
It's really interesting because you started off kind of the story with you picking up a paintbrush, and then to graphic design, and then you're picking up a pen, and then you're picking up a camera. Now you're a documentary filmmaker. So it's like you've actually picked up nearly all the artistic tools along the way. It just really shows you how developed you are as an artist, from my opinion, because you can do a lot of mediums.
Yeah, I mean, I see it as the painting and the thing and the filmmaking. I do kind of similar things, but different tools. So
Mm.
the paintbrush, the pen, I think it just kind of depends like which one I feel is most appropriate. And like you make a good point actually, because they are just tools, and
Mm-hmm.
the expression is something from you, but
Yeah.
the camera and the pen, these are just things you learn how to use, just the kind of technical things you learn how to use.
Just like almost like an expression of yourself, isn't it? Like depending on what tools you use. Now you're a documentary filmmaker, and you've been nearly 10 years actually, if I'm not mistaken, right? So
Yeah,
you've been you and your camera going around and documenting and filmmaking, and you've traveled abroad. I know we spoke previously, and you said that you went to Malaysia, you went to Somalia, Sudan. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
yeah. So I think the first trip that I actually went on, as I was telling you before, was I think this was must have been 2014 or 13, and the Turkey-Syria border. So we went out there to meet with Syrian refugees who
Mm-hmm.
had, I think around that time it was, the stuff that was happening there, it was just kind of fresh. So a lot of Syrians were fleeing from Syria. So yeah, that was the first trip that I ever did. That was, I think, I remember that trip because it's your first time kind of, it's one thing to like to see on the news and to hear people's stories, and um, they're quite traumatic anyways. But actually go to a place here, like, because we're interviewing people as well. So to hear story after story after story from each woman, and a lot of the Syrian refugees, or the ones that I've met anyway, a lot of them are female. A lot of men, you know, either their husbands died, or I think so. A lot of them are widows. It's a different thing to actually have to interview someone. You know, kind of. Obviously, you're not feeling like anything, anything that they felt or that they've been through, but you're kind of like inhaling that trauma. So yeah, I think that was quite memorable for me, but I've learned a lot since then, since that first trip, and how to kind of, when you're doing your job, you have to kind of, it's not that you switch off, but you have to, your feelings and whatever you feel when you're interviewing someone and hearing like a traumatic story or something like that, you have to like turn it off for that moment. Then when your day is done or when the trip is over, then you can go home and kind of process what you heard, because they're quite like, you know, they've been through a lot when you meet refugees.
You know, we actually had a previous guest that came on, but for a different show, Brothers Hour, and he was actually a documentary filmmaker like yourself. And his first trip was to Syria, and he actually shared the same experience with you, where he, you know, to watch it on the TV, to watch it on the news is one experience, but to see it face to face, it actually takes a toll emotionally and mentally. And going home, you have to almost like de-stress and decompress. And I think for yourself, going there as a first experience abroad must have been quite challenging, and to listen to all the stories. We actually have a comment. Someone asked, was there a memorable story that you learned from meeting the refugees?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it was the first. I think it was the second time. So the first time we went to see an orphanage that was going to be built. So it was still like cement. It was just a building, but it wasn't in use yet. So the second time we went, they had already built the orphanage. It was functioning, and there were kids in there and stuff. So I think what I remember from that time is we met an old man. He was a grandfather of one of the kids that went to the orphanage. So this girl, I think she had lost both her parents, or one, I'm not sure, but she had lost her father, this orphanage. So we went to interview the grandfather, you know, about how he feels, that her daughter, I think she must have been 12, I think. You know, how does he feel about this place? And it was really a really nice place. It was really happy. It was just filled with kids. And the workers there were just, you could see that it was just a place of laughter, basically. So it was nice to see that after we had met the women before, and kind of felt, you know, down about that experience. And yeah, the grandfather, I just remember, like, he was just so, he was old. He was about 72. He had been through about, I can't remember how many, this is a long time ago. Might get something wrong, but he had seen like maybe 2 or 3 wars, at least 2, at least 2 wars. And see him, like, he lived in the, you know, like a shop front. It's not a house. It's like a shop, right? So it has those metal like things that you pull down. So that was basically his house.
Wow.
And the back, like, it was separated by a rug or curtains. That's how they separated the back, which became the kitchen. and the front. And we arrived, and then like I think it was memorable for me because of the way he invited us into his home, you know, and to see an old man, I think, in this situation, see this kind of really, you know, no one wants to see their grandfather in, you know, in this situation where they're literally living in like a concrete box, basically. But it's just, I think it's just the respect that he commanded, and he was just, like, you know, I can't speak Arabic, but I can pick up like, you know, words that they say. So he was just like, welcome, come in, come in. So we all invited into his little home, basically, and then it turned out that he was a poet.
Wow, subhanallah.
Yeah, so he got his book out, and then he just started reading us poetry. Like we couldn't have asked for this, you know, situation. It was just like, it was like a, you know, from a movie or something. But he just got a big book, and he just started reading us poetry, like about, some of it was about like a previous war that he'd experienced, and like it was just so touching. It was so touching being there, and I think all of us walked out kind of just in awe of this man. And then the way he spoke about his grandpa having been through what had been through, it was just, you know, he said something like, now I can see, like I will live through my go to this school. She will, you know, like I can see through her eyes, something like it was quite poetic. But yeah, so I think all of us walked away from that really touched and humbled to have met. So in the end, the reason I remember it as well is because I also painted. I ended up painting a portrait of him.
Ah.
So yeah, so we took a picture, and I was like, I really like just want to paint this man's face. So yeah,
It's it's a really beautiful story, and it's a reminder that in the midst of war, there is also glimpses of happiness, and life almost has to continue. You know, like okay, unfortunately, people lose their loved ones, but how do we support those who are still alive, and what memories do we take with us? What do we take with us to, you know, when we're fleeing? And this man took his poetry book and he shared his experience. Really, really interesting to learn, actually.
yeah. I didn't, you know what? I didn't even think of it in that way, that he had taken his poetry book. That's an item he took with him. But yeah, it is quite something.
One of the things I want to ask is, you know, you went to Syria and you kind of captured the the situation in at that time, when the Syrian refugees were fleeing. What other stories are you trying to tell when you're filmmaking? What stories really interest you? You know, what is it that you want to share with the world?
Correction there first. I didn't go to Syria.
Oh, sorry, not Syria, but the Turkey border.
But no, we were interrogated by the police after, and that was one of the questions that they asked, and we had to keep. We didn't go to Syria, so I just, disclaimer there. Yeah. What did you ask me? What am I?
Like, what stories are you trying to tell? Like, what stories really interest you, and stories that really motivate you to share with the world?
I guess. I guess it doesn't. It's not like, it doesn't really matter specifically what the story is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what it's about. But I think what I look for when I meet someone is, you know, someone who's able to express emotion
Mm.
and feeling. So I guess, like, I had a conversation with my friend about this the other day, and um, just the idea that not catching you know, an idea or a specific idea, but what you're capturing is feeling. So, for example, you know, like the Syrian man that I met, I couldn't tell you like what his poetry, you know, what he said, words, or exactly what he, you know, did that like profound to me, but tell you what we felt,
Mm.
and so I guess like what I want to express, like if I an experience like that is something that I want to share with other. It motivates me to want to um, show that to other people, you know. So it's just about like feelings and human. I guess it's human. You know, that's something that everyone understands. It's empathy and trauma and you know, happiness, laughter. I think these are things that you don't need to translate, you know. So I guess those are the things that when I go out on a job or doing like a personal documentary, these are things that I will, I guess, look for.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't expecting that answer. I thought you were going to say, you know, I'm looking for really tear-jerking stories of, families that are ripped apart, maybe stories of love and laughter. I'm kind of blown away when you said emotions. I'm attracted to, emotions and sharing that because everybody can empathize. And so almost in a way, I don't know how to respond. Like, that's incredible because when I do watch a documentary, you know, I the one of the first things that you do is you feel the story and you connect with the story with your heart, and it almost inspires you to carry on that story, isn't it, once you finish it? So great answer.
Yeah, I mean, you might not remember like what a story is about. You know, like have you ever tried to explain like a film or a moment to someone, and then they're like, yeah, you're like you had to be there, you had to be there, and
Yeah.
it's just so difficult to articulate. But you can say like, but you know how you felt, and I think you know what, if, like there's a poet that actually says this. I don't know if it's Maya Angelou or Toni Morrison or something like that, but she says like it comes to mind because she says like people won't remember what you did, but they'll always remember how you made
Yes.
them. Yeah, so I think like that's the idea. Like when we read stuff, when we watch a film, when we see a painting or whatever, we you know we might not know what it's about or how that person did it, you know, or like if it's you know if it's a film, like what angles they used or what camera they used. Like we never know like what camera they used or anything like that, but we know the feelings that resonate. So for me, that's always like what I love to read and the type of films I love to watch. So yeah, just to
Oh,
expand.
it's like emotions are more memorable. They you always remember how you felt at a particular time when you watch something or when you see something, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And I wanted to ask you, and I told this to you before, like, oh, you're like almost the first woman who is a that I've met that's a documentary filmmaker. You're the first Malay woman who's gone abroad and documented like all these fantastic places. I wanted to ask you, what kind of challenges do you face as an artist, as a woman when you're trying to do your work?
mm, good question. Good question.
If any, if any.
Any, I'm sure there's some. No, yeah, I mean, as a female, I think most women will face challenges in whatever role you take, whether it's pay or treatment or whatever. But yeah, definitely when you're in a role that is dominated by men,
Hmm.
with you know the type of work that I do, like being a camera person or you know carrying all this equipment and stuff like that. I think yeah, you get certain like assumptions made about you, you know, presumptions, and you're definitely treated differently, yeah, if you do get the job at all. So, you know, and then there's, I think people don't, you know, one problem with actually trying to access the field is people don't, what do you call it? Like, imagine a woman in this role in the first place. For example, like I don't know, it might sound really trivial, but like people still call me cameraman. Like, this is our cameraman, this is our cameraman. So like, it might sound really trivial, you know, it's not, it's more irritating than anything else. But and also, sorry, another thing is, when I put my videos online, I don't usually like write my name or show my face or anything like that, but people will message me and say like and address me as a man. So like, I'll have to say like, oh yeah, by the way, like, you know, thanks for reaching out or whatever, but yeah, like, I'm a woman. So these things might sound really trivial, but what it actually tells you is that from the get-go, people are not thinking of a woman in this role, able to do this role. So that says a lot about access and opportunity. You know, if you don't even, if you're thinking of a person for a job and that person is, you know, 9 times out of 10 a man, then it says a lot. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, it says a lot about, you know, a woman trying to step into this role. So yeah, there's that. I mean, yeah, there's
So a lot of biases actually from the very get-go, even like the job titles that you said, cameraman.
yeah,
We haven't really picked up camera woman yet. It's not in the vocabulary. It's not common yet, unfortunately. So you said like from the very get-go, when you're interviewing, 9 out of 10 times they're thinking of a man. So does that mean that they're gonna hire a man?
yeah,
How accessible is it for women to come? And almost like you have to break down a lot of barriers at every stage. Then even when you upload it, you almost have to correct them. Like, no. I'm Nur Hannah. I'm a woman.
yeah, I'm a woman. Yeah, I mean, yeah, from there, I mean, there are presumptions and all of that, but I mean, I guess it's something, I don't want to say like you have to deal with, but how I get through it personally, I don't know how other people get through it, but I just kind of, you know, I will just tell myself, you know what, just focus on the end goal. Because, you know, filmmaking for me as well, like making videos, is also, it's a way. I know we spoke about expression, but it is really a way for me to speak. You know, right now, speaking to you, like, I feel like I articulate way better like in a video, you know, because I can edit and I can choose the ending, you know what I mean? So it's a way for me to articulate. I can't remember why I mentioned that now.
So because you can communicate better, and it's almost
Oh,
your way of speaking.
exactly. So I guess I focus on the end goal and just say, you know what, I can't control what people are gonna think about what I can and can't do. So let me just do it. Like, let me just do the job and do my best and let the work speak for itself,
Speak for it.
you know?
I love the focus. Love the focus. Uh, I don't care what you think, but I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to show you. It's amazing inspiration. Thank you.
Yeah, I try.
And you know, you spoke about expressions, and you spoke about telling stories. This jumps in quite well to my next question with about your parents, because your
Mm.
parents are quite well-known journalists in Malaysia and in the UK. And I just wanted to ask you, you know, what role did they play in inspiring you to pursue this path in media, similar to them?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't plan to like go into this field, and also like it wasn't. I know they're watching now, so they've probably been
They
waiting
are.
for this question. Yeah, so okay, it's not like, you know, people think that when you do a similar role to your parents, you know, like it's a thing where they're like, you have to be like, you have to do this, or like you have to be a doctor or whatever. But yeah, it really doesn't work like that. Like, to be honest, my parents were quite like very open to what I could, you know, what path, and open to like art, you know? So for as long as I can remember, like I just wanted to be an artist. And then when I moved to this path, into this path, which is like basically what they do, I guess looking back, it's like you learn and you're inspired by watching, you know, because my parents are both writers and journalists and storytellers, you know, so with that comes a lot of books, you know, so we were always surrounded by books. And I guess I learned to love reading from my parents, you know, which I'm really grateful for, because my dad and my mum would always have a book, you know, even like to this day. My dad, if you see him, he will always have a book in his hand. So yeah, I learned the love of words and just being engrossed in a book. And you know, to touch on, like, we've already spoken about this before, but the way words can make you feel and stuff like that. So yeah, I guess in that way, to answer your question, is I was inspired by that, I guess, and I was given a very, I was given the right environment by them to then go into this field.
I think that's a great answer. I think your parents will be very pleased with that answer. You know, when I heard you saying what inspired you, I was like, yes. But I think you're right. I think they're almost like they nurtured something that was very innate in you, that was part of you, and it almost allowed you to bloom and to blossom,
Yeah,
and to feel confident in, you know, in choosing this path.
yeah, but not by force, you know. It was just like, I love doing this, so naturally, you know, I'm gonna surround my children with books and everything else. So yeah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah for good parents who are great role models for us. I wanted to ask you, kind of, this is my last question, as we're wrapping up our session, is what words of encouragement or advice would you give to those who are pursuing this career? There are a lot of barriers, a lot of setbacks that you can face. Any words of wisdom that you can share with us?
Oh, okay, all right. Words of wisdom. I guess, you know what? I can only like speak from my own experience and what worked for me. And I guess things started to happen for me when I started doing things that I enjoyed and that I loved. Even though I love painting and stuff, I do that for different reasons. But when I discovered a passion for writing and storytelling, I don't know, the path just became, alhamdulillah, it just, doors just started to open for me. So I would say, firstly and foremost, enjoy what you're doing. I know it's easy to say, like, it's easy for me to say from here, but enjoy the journey. Like, don't focus too much. Where's it gonna go? You know, whether that's the journey of you know, filmmaking journey, or the journey of making the video, or the journey of writing a piece. Just enjoy the process, because there is the joy will manifest in the end result. That makes sense.
That
But
does make
yeah, I
sense, yes.
don't know if that's advice, but just
That's really good
breathe.
advice, to enjoy what you're doing. A lot of people don't enjoy what they're doing, so that's like one of the best advice that you can give to someone.
Okay, good.
One of the things I have learned about you, and you know, the story that you've shared with us, is to open yourself up to new opportunities. From the very start, the first question when I asked you how did this career start, you know, you were doing something else, and you're like, you know what, I want to do something else, and I want to try it out, and I like it, and like you said, it opened up new opportunities. So I find that one of the things that that you embody actually is just trying. If that, would you agree? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't describe like, I wouldn't have described myself as that, but I
Mm.
guess, yeah, like, definitely, like, that's good advice for people. Like, try things, you know, because, you know, like they say, like, it sounds cheesy, but if you don't try, like, you've already failed, you know. So yeah, try different things. And I would also say, like, you know, not network, I hate that word network, but connect with people, you know, different people. They don't have to be filmmakers, but artists, whatever, because this is energy. Like, that's energy, and that's where ideas come from, and that's where work, like, quite practically, like, that's where work comes from as well. So yeah, and in that space you are trying different things too, you know. So yeah.
So definitely go out there, meet new people, absorb the energy, learn from their stories. That's very much like Sisters Hour, every week, week in, week out. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. And you're introducing different people. Exactly. It's energy. Yeah.
Love
Definitely.
that. Thank you so much, Nur Hannah. It's been a real pleasure having you on Sisters Hour. I've learned so much, and I'm actually going to watch a film or read a book. The next time I'm going to watch a film and read a book, I'm going to be more in tune with how I feel, and I'm going to see if I remember that more, because that's something that will definitely stay with me now. Like, it's not about the story; it's about how that story made you feel. So that's definitely something that I'm going to take away. Just to let you know, we've actually received a few comments, and a lot of people are wishing you all the best for your future endeavors. So we have Dr. Zekri Hashim, Sister Fatiha as well has wished you all the best. So you have a lot of supporters, a lot of fans.
Thank you, everyone.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of Sisters Hour. It's been a great pleasure having Nur Hannah. Next week we are still continuing this series, so do watch out for the next episode. It will be on Saturday, next Saturday at 2 p.m. As always, do check out our social media, our Facebook and Instagram for the latest news and updates from the Suffa Educational Foundation. And we wish you a very, very happy weekend. And we hope to see everyone soon in the next episode, inshallah. Nur Hannah, thank you so much. Any last words?
No, thank you for having me and allowing me to speak, because I don't usually do this. So thanks a lot.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.